Thanks everybody for joining us today. We're here for turning account engagement into ABM Sales Insights. So you have with you today, I'm Jason Hubbard. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer for SalesIntel. SalesIntel is a company that helps you build your targeted ABM list to be able to go after for account-based marketing, account-based sales campaigns, to make sure that you're getting the right and the highest quality information and data to be able to go after and implement those campaigns. We have with us today Manny from Kwanzoo. Manny, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Thanks, Jason, and hello, everyone. Manny, Iyer from Kwanzoo. Here at Kwanzoo, we specialize in what we call adaptive ABM solutions. What that means is we help a lot of B2B companies, mid to large B2B enterprises, global enterprises, kind of adapt or update their current marketing process, review and understand their data and make changes to their data. Also their marketing programs and their current technology stack. So it works very well for account-based marketing. So that is essentially what we do. We have specific rich capabilities around account-based advertising, account-based analytics off of the company websites. And also we try to deliver some very interesting insights to the company's customers' sales organizations, sales teams. So we serve inside sales teams, SDRs, BDRs. Jason?
Great to have you, Manny. And for our format today, we're going to keep things pretty casual. Manny and I both, work and have, ABM, account-based marketing, really close to our hearts. It's something that we really strongly believe in and support. So we're going to sort of be really casual as we go through this, have a conversation around it. If you have questions or anything, feel free to pop those in at any point in this. We'll even jump over from time to time and do some live whiteboarding as we're talking through some of these questions and concepts. But yeah, to get us started, let's give a little context around it. So account-based marketing, has been around for decades. But it's really taken off as far as a point of interest and a topic here over the last couple of years. And there's some trends that are going on in the space that are helping to drive a lot of that and really rising ABM as a strategy and really a necessity for successful companies and campaigns to the top currently. And a lot of what's driven that has been trends that have come to dominate and define, the industry, in particular, the B2B space over the last 10 years or so. And a lot of that has to do with technology and the democratization of a lot of the technologies and tools that at one point, 10 plus years ago, were cost prohibitive and largely restricted to the enterprise. And then over the last 10 years or so, you've seen those technologies and capabilities trickle down to smaller B2B organizations and earlier stage companies. In particular, amongst those have been marketing automation and sales enablement platforms. And what those have allowed people to do has been able to really quickly be able to scale up their ability to reach out to large numbers of people and put their company and content in front of large audiences. And that's really just happened over the last 10 years that's started to make its way out into most B2B companies to where it's basically right up there with CRM as a required piece of the technology stack. And what happened as all of this, sort of spun out and became democratized was you saw dominating in the space a lot of people just taking the easy path, which is go source or find as many leads as you can load into the top of the funnel as possible. Send out big blanket email blasts without really taking any time to do targeting or segmentation or anything like that. And the attitude was basically if you put enough numbers in the top, then you're going to have enough trickle out the bottom, and you're good to go. You don't have to put in all of that hard effort on doing the customization and the targeting and the segmentation and stuff like that. The result, though, is we've wound up kind of shooting ourselves in the foot. The ability to get through these really, really heavily trafficked channels, be able to, get people's attention, drive engagement. Even now, it's to the point we're getting past just the gatekeepers like Google, where they've really clamped down on your ability to, add in that new cold leads, be able to send emails and actually have those land in people's inbox and then engage with it. Those days are largely over. So the Wild West is gone. And so we're at a new time where you've got to be strategic. And the irony of it is sort of forced everybody to go back to marketing 101 and really get strategic and do it smart. Go on to the next slide. All right, so from traditional demand generation to account-based marketing. So our sort of talked through all of this a little bit already, but what you saw with the enablement of the technologies was the ability of people to be pretty indiscriminate in what they were doing, and just load in really large numbers, and then whatever low-hanging fruit trickled out the other end of it, that was what they engaged with. Practices and techniques for being able to identify what your target accounts are, what's a marketing qualified lead or a sales qualified lead, were pretty basic. So, just that setting basic scoring or thresholds, and then passing those on to a sales team, moving it out of the marketing responsibility over to salespeople. And that's sort of how things have been for, the last 10 years or so. You could get away with not being very sophisticated with what you were doing, and just focusing on making sure that marketing had enough people that they were hitting, and that knowing that, out of that a certain number were going to come out the other end of it. Like I said, those days are largely gone. So, if you're not employing, account-based marketing strategies and campaigns, then you're really going to be suffering and behind the ball here as we're starting to face a lot of the new trends. So with all that said, there are clear benefits to account-based marketing: better engagement, better coordination between your different departments, marketing and sales, ability to be able to, highly target your ideal customers, be able to profile exactly who you want to go after. So with all of those benefits, why hasn't ABM taken off? Why did people take, the easy route of just loading in a lot of people into marketing automation? And that's because, in a nutshell, ABM is not easy. In fact, it's darn difficult. You have to be able to have the time and the resources to be able to sit down, to be able to define your buyers, your personas, your industries, your ideal customers, figure out who those people are, at the company level. So, whether that's technographic, what platforms are they on, what technologies are they using, whether it's industry specific, so what verticals are they part of, what companies do they serve, what are their specific needs, all the way down to the individuals. So, on average, you're looking at, for most B2B SaaS purchase decisions, somewhere between 7 and 12 people need to be at the table involved in that buying decision now. So being able to know who those people are, what their titles, roles, and responsibilities are, is really important at this point. Account-based marketing is difficult. There's a lot of effort and work that goes into it, into building the content for those specific people and companies that you've decided to target, making sure you're getting the right value-add content in front of the right people at the right time. And then crucial to all of that is all of that work and effort that you're doing is not going to get you anywhere if the data that you're working off of is not good. So you can come up with as detailed of a profile of your ideal buyers, as your ideal company as possible, but then at the end of the day, whenever you're segmenting and trying to figure out who to get the right content in front of, if your data around those key pieces that you're defining and segmenting off of are not accurate in your database, then all of that's going to come for naught. So that's a quick rundown of kind of where we are and how we've gotten to why account-based marketing is so important. So now we're going to start talking about, how do you actually successfully implement, a successful account-based marketing strategy and campaign, as well as what are some of the technologies that are out there that are emerging that give you the tools and insight to be able to really be effective with that. So Monty, do you want to take the lead here?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Jason. So I think you really set it up well. So I thought, the next logical thing to discuss might be, So let's say you've decided to, get into more of an ABM approach, account-based marketing strategy, and approach to, reaching and engaging your prospects and buyers. The next thing then, for both the marketing and sales organization to come together and kind of figure out is we have actually laid out a few key questions here, right? So one is, serious decisions, they call it demand units, but the basic idea is for any product or solution that your enterprise might be offering out to the marketplace, you will want to understand your buying group. Some folks might call it a buying center. Some may call it they may call it like a buyer matrix. But let's think about it as a buying group. So now the buying groups are the ones where you think about it from a buying group perspective. You're going beyond individual leads. Maybe as Jason, you mentioned earlier, there are 7 to 12 people. We think of it as even larger than that in some cases. You really want to understand who these people are, and you may have just maybe 1 or 2 of those 7 to 17 that may fill out a form. So now, how do you reach and engage entire buying groups at target accounts? How can you find the people that are making buying decisions? So I think, Jason, this is a good spot. Let me switch actually over to our whiteboarding approach. That we can try to give a little more color to what we're talking about here. So hopefully, folks can see this. What I'm sketching out here is real quick. Is the notion of a buying group. So the buying group, like we said, is going to have multiple folks who are part of the buying group, and then I'm going to quickly put kind of the range that we've seen, anywhere from 7 to 17 people. Now, the next thing is each buying group, you really want to understand, on the one hand, what is the product / solution that you're trying to present to this buying group. You're going to have what I call, different buyer personas. So each of these folks that are part of the buying group, you certainly are going to have certain key persona information. So persona information here, for us, certainly, it's 2 key things. One is the seniority or the level of these folks. Are they VP? Are they C-level? So, typically is manager, director, VP, C-level. So that's an important piece of data that you want to be clear on. The other is what I call their job function. So there's job level or seniority. The other is their job function. So it could be things like, are they in marketing? Are they in sales? Are they in finance? So why is this important? So essentially what happens is when you understand your list of accounts, target accounts. So let's say you had a huge list of accounts, set a list of accounts, you want to go after hundreds of accounts. And then you have the buying groups figured out, the product or solution, the personas figured out. You can then start, sourcing what's called third-party data. So you can obtain data. We actually have data partners, Oracle BlueKai, Bombora, there's Dun & Bradstreet, there's, Kickfire. There's a bunch of these data providers that actually help you reach and engage your target buyers that match your buyer personas at these accounts. And that's how you essentially turn these into what's called an ABM audience. And the ABM audience is actually a bunch of cookies, online cookie data, through which you can actually get to these people. Serve up, in our case, we serve up banners. We bring people who've never, ever visited the company's website. We're able to bring them in. And so that's essentially, Jason, the basic idea of, engaging all buyers in a buying group, which is something new and different than, just getting, as you said, the traditional way of just getting one person out of the group maybe to fill out a form, right?
Yeah, I think that's really important because, what you see oftentimes is, somebody comes in through a form or visits a booth at an event or replies to an email or something like that. That's just the tip of the iceberg as far as what you need to have in place in order to actually close a deal and finish a sell. That's been something that's really hamstrung sales and marketing in the past, has been, how do you get in front of all of those people that need to be at the table in order to close the deal? In the past, you've primarily had to work through that 1 or 2 or 3 people that you've been able to make contact, or your primary points of contact at that company, as opposed to being able to engage that entire buying center that needs to be part of that decision. And then, equally, if not more important, is being able to tailor your messaging and content for those different buying personas at the company. So different people with different responsibilities and roles are going to have different interests, different talking points, different pain points that you're going to want to address whenever you're surfacing materials for them. And so all of this, if you can bring all of that together and get engagement across, all of the different people that are part of that buying decision, then your close rates are going to be much, much higher.
Yeah, absolutely, Jason. And I just put up our next slide, which was to talk about, what today's marketing automation tools can do, right? Which is really help you reach certain people for whom you have emails and they're already in your database. You can reach and hit them with emails and learn about them. But I guess we wanted to talk next about the idea of the hidden funnel, right? So
yeah, so I mean, anybody who's ever managed marketing or a website knows that the vast majority of the traffic that comes to your website is unknown. So, if you're having, let's just pull a number out of the air, 1,000 unique visitors a day. Of those, very, very few are going to actually be people that you ever know who they are. So most of that traffic that hits your site are anonymous visitors that you know next to nothing about. And then if they didn't engage with your content on the website, on the visit, then you don't really have a way to follow up with them, identifying who they are, anything like that. So you really kind of get one shot. And the vast majority of the time, that one shot you get is not going to be very effective because your traffic to submission ratio for most average websites is extremely, extremely small, usually in the single digits. So the vast majority of the people that, you somehow did a good job of getting them interested enough they got to your website somehow for some reason. So, you did, pat yourself on the back for actually getting them there and driving traffic to the site. But, no matter how good of a job you're doing there, almost all of that traffic is going to remain anonymous. And all you can really do is, cross your fingers and hope that they're actually going to engage and raise their hand. And that's where we're fortunate that we can look at and talk about some of the technologies that are out there to help us bridge that gap.
Yeah, so Jason, let me talk specifically about what we can do today. As you said, that wasn't possible earlier, which is to get to the so-called 97 to 98% anonymous buyers, and those are the guys coming to the site. People coming to the site we're talking about as so-called hidden funnel. So what we're able to do now is actually drop a tag on the website where we can actually understand, the folks who are coming in. Now, let me tell you what we can tell about them. Given that, let's say here's the entire traffic, as you can see, I'm again sketching on the whiteboard here. That is, your visitors. So a piece of that is going to be the folks that your marketing automation can really identify. Because, your Eloquas and Marketos and others of the world. But there's this large portion where you're kind of for whom you're missing your contact data. But let me tell you some of the things that you can now learn about them. Basically, I call it reveal your hidden funnel. So what are some of the things you can learn? First, you can understand the accounts that they're coming from. And you can also learn a bunch of other things we'll talk about real soon. But the point is, these missing contacts, there's enough information you can learn about them that you can essentially feed it into certain contact data tools, such as SalesIntel. You can also essentially to make it kind of from anonymous, you can make it into known contact data. So that's the process we'll talk about next. So yeah, so I think that should probably lead us into the next slide. So I'm just going to put that up. The hidden funnel is all these people you don't know, and the newer tech essentially will help you map all the hidden funnel data for your SDRs, BDRs. But before we go there, I was thinking, Jason, it might be worth talking about the current state of data and information that SDRs and BDRs have to work with. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so what's really exciting right now with the bringing together new technologies, new capabilities that are out there, in particular to be able to look at and get visibility into the hidden funnel that you talked about, combined with a strategic account-based marketing and selling program. is that the traditional model that I talked about earlier, where you have just thresholds or scores that mark something as a marketing or a sales qualified lead, that then gets passed to an SDR for them to do qualification on, make sure that they are actually a fit, and then pass over to an account executive team. Those are pretty crude tools. So somebody may just be really interested in whatever you're writing about, but not actually be your buyer or buyer persona. Or somebody may be at the wrong point in their buying journey for engagement with it. Or they may not even be a legitimate target for you as far as a fit for either the company or their role within the company. And so that's left a lot of legwork for the SDRs to kind of separate the wheat from the chaff as far as what's being passed to them from the marketing team. And so that's what's really exciting, is whenever you start getting greater visibility into stuff that's traditionally been hidden, and be able to actually see and track engagement around that. And what we're really trying to do within this, and Manny, you and I talked about this, it'd be great to kind of sketch this out on the whiteboard, is you have the actual engagement from people that are coming to the website or engaging with your content, people that would be your ideal buyers, and then you have two other pieces of that. You've got what marketing's doing and what sales is doing, and very often there's limited overlap between those.
Yes. Yeah, so I think, Jason, you're right. I mean, that really is what we need to drill down on next, which is what kind of insights, intelligence can you pull from your website, from your paid media programs and campaigns, and then also what you do have as insights from other channels, other digital channels. How can you pull it all together? What's this additive data that you can feed over to your sales team, right? So let's sketch that out, because I really think that's right place to go next. So let me go back to our whiteboard and tell me if you can see this, because I think that really is going to be probably the best, a good point to kind of get to next. So the way I think about it, Jason, I think about, and I'm going to sketch this, which is three circles of accounts, right? Remember this, we're talking ABM here. So to me, there are a bunch of accounts I'm going to sketch up here. There's another bunch of accounts here, and then there's a third bunch of accounts. So I'm going to label the one on top ABM, advertising and retargeting. So these are accounts, let's say, that you're reaching out because they're high value accounts. You feel it's worth the investment, and so you're going to go off and put some program dollars against it to reach and engage these accounts. And here might be a larger set of accounts that you're reaching through marketing emails, so through marketing automation, right? So they're over here, and then your sales team is already engaging with several prospects. So these are your sales emails that you're reaching and engaging through, let's say, SalesLoft, Cadence, Outreach, a bunch of other tools. But the point is, you're going to have different accounts in each set, and the interesting question is going to be, what can I learn that I couldn't learn earlier about these accounts that I hit with, say, targeted advertising for reaching and increasing awareness and engagement and outreach? So let's say you have these accounts over here. What we are able to deliver in what we call our Sales Insights report, and this is why we're calling this turning account engagement into Sales Insights, is our Sales Insights report can actually deliver some very interesting pieces of data. One is the account that the prospect is coming from, the buyer's coming from, who's engaging with these ads or coming over to the site who never visited before. What are the specific messages in terms of ads or website pages they're visiting? What are the geolocations they're coming from? And what we are also able to provide is so-called personas. What were the personas that were being targeted? So the personas is, remember, we talked about this, which is, are they VPs of IT? Are they directors of marketing? Who are they? So with that data, all this data that we already know, it's exactly the right thing that either the SDR, BDR can directly act off of using internal contact research tools, or you would want to partner with, say, SalesIntel to generate the contacts that you need and essentially make, start the sales outreach process into the entire buying group that we talked about earlier, because this would be additive. And you can obviously go off and find gaps in your existing, buying so-called accounts and the account level contact data that you already have. Jason?
Yeah, so what's really interesting about being able to visualize this is the goal with it obviously would be to have as much overlap between those three circles as humanly possible, because you want to have coordination between sales, marketing, and your general demand gen, whether that's be through ads, PR, whatever, just driving top of the funnel awareness, traffic to the site, stuff like that. And so the more that you've got visibility across those different silos and those different efforts, the more you're able to bring into alignment those different departments and what's going on across the company. And then the more alignment that you have between those, the more effective each of those campaigns are going to be, because to be effective today, you really have to have multi-channel approaches to be able to get in front of the right people at the right time, to be able to engage all of those buying centers that you need in order to actually get deals closed. And so, whereas in the past, everybody was kind of, sales was doing their thing, marketing was doing their thing, ad teams were doing their thing. And the key thing that everybody was looking for were, hey, who raises their hand and fills out a form? But like we showed earlier, 97 to 98% of the people that are engaging with those efforts are never going to raise their hand. And so what do you do with that information? I mean, if all you're focusing on are the 2 to 3% that are engaged enough to say like, hey, I'm the low-hanging fruit here, then obviously you're leaving a lot on the table. As well as, you've got efforts that are, geared in different directions. So, you have the problems of optimizing for potentially the wrong things. Marketing may be, optimizing for getting the most form fills. But whenever it gets past the sales, sales may be seeing or finding out that, hey, those people filling out the forms are really bad. We're not able to convert any of those to paid. And so you can wind up with, strategies where different departments are optimizing for different things, and the end result is you're not optimizing or maximizing your revenue and your profit off of it.
Yeah, so Jason, yeah, absolutely. I think we kind of probably should sum up saying this is the essence of what we're trying to explain here, which is going beyond traditional demand gen, which is very lead based and trying to hit maybe just 1 or 2 people in the buying group. You can now actually think about targeting accounts, targeting buyer personas, bringing them in, understanding who they are, and then you can have your SDRs, BDRs rank order and prioritize the most engaged to least engaged accounts, understand the depth of engagement at a buying group level, source contact data for all those key buyers that you may be missing, and then the targeted emails and drive pipeline.
The exciting thing with what's going on in the convergence of the technologies and enablement that's out there right now is it starts becoming a virtuous cycle. So as you get more visibility into what people are engaging with and who those people are, then you can get smarter about defining your personas, your industries you're going after. Then you can use tools like SalesIntel to be able to go and build those highly targeted lists for marketing to go after, as well as to be able to supplement for the sales team, those people that are coming through and marked as sales qualified leads, so that the sales team knows all of the additional buyers they need to be going after, as well as how to go after them and how to actually get in contact with them. And then the more that you do that, then the more qualified the people are that are coming to your website, engaging with your content. And so, like I said, it becomes a virtuous cycle with that. So I know we're a few minutes over our allotted time. I know we had a question from, it looks like Sheila. And Sheila, you may need a little bit more clarification on this. She asked, what is the industry recognition percentage on average? Can you give me a little bit more detail on what you're looking for there specifically? Manny, do you have ideas?
Again, this is industry percentage on what, I'm sorry?
What is the industry recognition percentage for site visitors? So we're using tools like Kwanzoo. I think the question would be, on average, what's your hit rate as far as being able to identify what industry those visitors are coming from?
Oh, I see the question. Yeah. So when you want to understand the so-called anonymous buyer traffic data that we said is going to be north of 90%. So the reversing from the anonymous buyer into a known company, that really is going to vary, right? So I'll tell you, it's going to vary based on the geolocation of the buyer. So the data is a lot better when we're talking about buyers who are in North America, so different companies in North America, let's say they work for them, it's higher. So it's north of 80% if it is reverse IP technology. What's nice is now you have targeting data that also can be used for reverse lookup and map to the company they work for. So for example, Jason, we use BlueKai. We can reverse from BlueKai cookie data into the company they work for. Same with Bombora, we can reverse into the company they work for. And we certainly are able to drive up those percentages, both for North America and globally. But keep in mind, if you look at pure reverse IP, we're probably talking about 80% reverse IP lookup rates in North America. You're looking at about 50% or so reverse IP lookup rates in overseas market, might be even less than that for certain global geos. But the way to drive that up and ID many more accounts, right, of the anonymous buyer data is going to be to do a combination of targeting with this cookie targeting we talked about, and then reversing to kind of a combination of using the cookie data and the IP data. And that certainly drives up the ID of these buyers. Jason?
Great. Let's see. I think that's all we had for questions with it. Like I said, we're quite a few minutes over. But if anybody has any other questions for us, pop those in for us. Otherwise, we'll wrap things up. But anyway, thanks everybody for joining us today. Like I said, we will have an email out with a link to both the webinar recording as well as the deck. You can also reply to those emails if you have any questions or would like to schedule any type of one-on-one follow-up. Monty, thank you so much for joining us today, and great to have everybody with us.
Thank you.
Right.
Appreciate
Thanks.
it.